That's the human metapneumovirus, or HMPV for short. And some in the media have sensationalized it by calling it the mystery virus. But there's really no mystery to it, and it's not new by any stretch.
Hello and welcome to the AMA Update video and podcast. Today we have our weekly look at the headlines with the AMA's Vice President of Science, Medicine, and Public Health, Andrea Garcia. I'm Todd Unger, AMA's Chief Experience Officer. Welcome back, Andrea.
Thanks, Todd. It's good to be here.
Well, we're looking at a lot of news out there about bird flu, so let's start there. A rare strain of the virus has been discovered on a California poultry farm. Andrea, tell us more about that and what it could mean.
Yeah, Todd, there was an article in The Guardian earlier this week, and it noted that the World Organization for Animal Health reported the first outbreak of a rare bird flu in poultry known as highly pathogenic avian influenza H5N9. And this has been detected on a duck farm in California. Authorities said the discovery of H5N9 came in addition to the detection of the more common H5N1 strain on that same farm in Merced County. Almost 119,000 birds on the farm have been killed since early December. And according to the USDA, this is the first confirmed H5N9 case in poultry in the United States. The agency also said they're conducting comprehensive epidemiological investigations and enhanced surveillance in response. The concern, once again, is whether or not this novel virus will cause human infections and become a pandemic subtype. That's not known yet and may actually not be known for some time, but it's certainly important to conduct further research on this.
Absolutely. And alongside this news, the New York Times also published an article that bird flu is entering a, quote, new phase. What exactly does that mean?
Well, Todd, I think it means that we really need to keep a close eye on this. And while it's impossible to predict the course of this virus, as you mentioned, the New York Times did lay out some potential scenarios based on what we know right now and how things are shifting even ever so slightly. First, I think let's recap where we're at. So the virus has infected more than 900 herds and 67 people in the U.S., killing one individual. The experts in the Times article said that while a human pandemic is not inevitable, some developments indicate that the possibility may no longer be quite so remote.
Well, I guess that's really the bottom line here and all the discussions that we're having. Andrea, can you take us through some of those developments that are decreasing, or I guess the odds that it's remote?
Well, I think first there's the question of reinfection, which could dictate how this virus evolves over time. And like much of this isn't at this point 100% clear. The article gives one example where a few dairy herds in Idaho were affected this past spring, and then they displayed mild symptoms for a second time in November. Now, the USDA has said that it does not see evidence of new infections or reinfections in previously affected herds, but rather a lack of clearance of that original infection. However, outside experts have said that the trajectory of symptoms in Idaho herds suggests a second round of illness.
So why is it so important to make the distinction?
Reinfection in and of itself wouldn't be particularly surprising, and symptoms could potentially be milder the second time around, which would be good. However, this suggests that the virus could circulate on farms indefinitely, and the longer it circulates, the more opportunities it has to evolve into a more dangerous form. Also, if the symptoms from reinfections are extremely mild, it would likely make that rapid detection difficult, if not impossible.
Now, Andrea, a second big question, of course, is about the virus's ability to spread between animals and humans. And I know that's a worry we've discussed a lot here before. Did that article or any other news sources address that concern?
It did. And the worry here is that if bird flu circulates long enough, it could also eventually find that right combination of genetic mutations to make it easily transmissible among people. And adding to these concerns, in early December, scientists reported that in a lab setting, a single mutation helped the virus infect human cells more efficiently. If you recall, late last year, two people, a Canadian teen and a Louisiana resident who was over the age of 65, became seriously ill with bird flu. And while the Canadian teen eventually recovered, the Louisiana man did not.
I remember you talking about that. Why are those particular cases so significant then?
Well, prior to those cases, people infected in the current outbreak didn't have severe symptoms. Both of those patients contracted a virus belonging to the D1.1 genotype that's been detected in wild birds and poultry. It is distinct from the one in dairy cattle. And in both individuals, that virus gained mutations during the course of infection that might allow it to better infect people. Right now, the CDC still says the risk to the general public is low, but we also know how easily and quickly that could change. And given this, we really just cannot underestimate it.
Well, if history has taught us anything, it's that we can't underestimate any virus. Before we leave the topic of bird flu, we've seen some headlines about pet food. What does this have to do with bird flu and why the concern now?
Well, cats appear to be especially vulnerable to the H5N1 virus, and domesticated cats have actually died from bird flu in a number of states. In most cases, this was after consuming raw pet food or raw milk contaminated with the H5N1 virus. According to an article by NBC News, this has prompted the recall of at least one brand of pet food, as well as new federal guidelines on pet food quality. This week, the FDA suggested that pet food manufacturers take precautions in their food safety plan, such as seeking ingredients from flocks or herds that are healthy and taking processing steps such as heat treatment that are capable of inactivating viruses. In its warning, the FDA said that H5N1 can be deadly to cats as well as dogs. So we're encouraging consumers to carefully consider the risk of this emerging pathogen before feeding their pets undercooked meat or an uncooked pet food product. We know that both the CDC and the American Veterinary Medical Association also discourage uncooked meat diets for companion animals.
Well, that's good to know, especially for us pet owners, including me. Andrea, let's turn our attention to something different now, and that's seasonal influenza. How are the numbers looking this week?
Well, flu continues to be trending high across most states, and public health experts have expressed concern that obviously we could be missing H5N1 cases, as the most commonly used influenza tests do not distinguish between bird flu and seasonal flu. At CDC Han, we discussed last